Guys, I am absolutely pumped to be making this video for you today. We have been working probably the last 6 months on securing this deal. So we bought a couple of forgotten about American classic cars, and they've been sitting in this garage for the last 30 to 35 years, untouched on jack stands. It's a crazy situation. And this is the truest definition of a hoarder situation that of course spilled over to the garage. So the house was packed full of stuff, and obviously the garage was too. So you'll see here in a minute, hopefully, these cars are full of garbage. They've been just totally discarded over the years and used as a big trash pile. But we need to change that. But before we can get these cars back on the road, we got to do the battle, and we got to get these cars out of this garage, which is going to take quite a bit of work, like you guys are about to see. But we're here to take you on that journey because stuff like this doesn't happen every day. I don't know when this is going to happen to me, if ever again in the future. I hope it does, but if it doesn't, I'm going to be okay with these cars. I think you guys are going to be really impressed with the overall condition of these cars once they get pulled out of the garage. I wasn't able to inspect them the best like I normally would because there was so much garbage in the way, but I'm hoping it's going to work out in my favor. And only time will tell. So come along for the journey. We'll take you on a wild ride. All right, let's get these cars cleaned off. And as you can see, there's a bunch of junk piled on top of these things. So in order to make this deal, we had to clear these off just to see what we were working with. And you'll see here in a minute, the paint on these cars is actually looking really good, which I was excited about. So we were finally able to get those cars most of the way cleaned off, and luckily the Dodge Challenger still has an engine in it. That's always a big worry when the hoods are shut. And of course the Corvette still retains its original Chevy 350. So now we got to do the legwork of getting these cars moved more towards the center of the garage. That way the tow truck can actually get these cars safely out of the way. And of course, in order to move these cars, we have to put them on skates. That was the only way we were going to be able to move these cars, at least by hand, and avoid them scratching against the walls. I'm not joking you when I say we only had about 1 inch of clearance on either side of the garage to move these cars. It was kind of sketchy. I'm not even sure how the guy did this because we didn't find any skates around the property at all. But here we are. This is the first look of the Dodge Challenger being pulled out of the garage for the first time in 30 years. And look at that overall body. I mean, it's looking pretty strong so far. There's a little bit of bubbling in the paint or back behind the rear wheel. But other than that, it's looking pretty strong. This is a really great feeling, seeing this thing finally being loaded up on the tow truck. It took a ton of work, but I gotta say, it is worth it. So this is going to be a great car, and I'm excited to get my hands on it. That way we can finally get it back on the road just as it deserves. And this is going to be its final ride, hopefully on a tow truck. And of course, we now have to focus our efforts on the Corvette. So same thing, we have to move it to the center of the garage, which this was honestly a little bit more difficult to move, surprisingly. I'm not sure why. And it was a little bit more sketchy getting this one off of jack stands as well. But look at that dust on there. It's going to be really nice when I can make another video of me washing this car and just seeing how that paint, cleans up. So we're hoping for good news with the paint and no cracked fiberglass or anything like that. But yeah, so we are ready to get this thing back onto a tow truck and on its final voyage on a tow truck. Hopefully for the foreseen future, we don't have any major issues or anything like that. So here we are hooked up and ready to yank this thing out of the garage. And it was a little bit of a slow process because the rear wheel on the passenger side was actually locked up, which obviously is very common, especially when cars sit for this long. I'm surprised not all the brakes were locked up on both of the cars. But we got lucky and we were able to finally break that thing loose. It kind of slid onto the trailer here, but once he dropped it off at the shop, it actually broke loose. So I didn't get any video of that, unfortunately. But here you can see he was really trying to yank that thing and get it to break, but it just wouldn't. It was pretty seized up. So first impressions with the Corvette, the paint overall is looking really good. Of course, you can see that rear bumper is a little bit faded in my opinion. It might just be dust and we'll have to see how it cleans up. But it's very common for those plastic rear bumpers to fade as well as the front bumpers. So it'll be interesting to see how that cleans up. This Corvette shows 93,000 miles on it, but the body definitely doesn't look the part. So it looks a little bit more clean than 93,000 miles. We'll just have to see what happens when we eventually dig into it. All right, so that was definitely a long day, and we finally made it back to the shop. It took probably 5 or 6 hours to get all that done, but it was worth it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe because the next video is going to show the results after giving them a bath and seeing how well that paint cleans up. And then we're on to the next steps of getting these things back rolling on the road.